Bar chords is when we apply a bar behind the chord and then we make the chord in front of the bar. A bar chord is a fixed movable shape that you can move up and down the neck to make loads of different chords with only one chord shape. So you hold one shape with your hand, but you can hear, you know, many different chords. This is amazing. This is so cool because it means that if you can just learn a couple of hand positions, you can essentially play any chord. You know, this is a huge time saver. So to give you an example of this, if we hold an E chord down here, so this is an open chord, this is E major. But if we apply the bar there, it becomes F. So can you see how this hasn't changed? These three fingers are still the same. E. If we move it up and we put the bar down, it becomes an F. If we move it up more, it becomes a G. Then an A, B, C, C sharp, D, and so on and so on. But you can see that these fingers didn't change. The only thing that changed was where I applied that shape on the fretboard. So the pitch changed, the pitch went up and down, but the nature of the chord stayed the same all the time. It was a major chord. It was quite bright and happy. Now broadly, there's 5 different types of bar chord that we can play. Let's jump over to the iPad and I'll explain it to you in a bit more detail. There's 5 types of bar chord: C, A, G, E, and D. Now the one I just showed you a moment ago was using an E shape, but we can also make bar chords out of C shapes, A shapes, G shapes, and D shapes. But by far the most used are E shapes and A shapes. These two, they account for, I would say, for most guitarists, you know, 90 to 95% of all bar chords are played using A and E shapes. So these are the ones that you have to get under your belt. The C, the G and the D are more advanced, and whilst we do use them, they're not used anywhere near as much as the A and E's. If I had to rank them in order of how often they're used, I would say E and A shapes are used the most, and then D shapes are the next used, C's the next, and G shapes aren't really used that often. So that's what the whole picture looks like, but really all I want you to worry about, certainly in this video, we're going to just focus on E shapes, and in the next video we'll focus on A shapes. So there's 5 types of bar chords: C shapes, A shapes, G shapes, E shapes, and D shapes. In this video, we're going to focus on E shapes. Let's do a super quick whistle-stop tour of all of the most common E-shaped chord voicings. Okay, first of all, here's major. Big and bright and happy and optimistic. And that's obviously based off an E major chord down here. Okay, the next one is minor. So we just remove this finger and that gives us a minor shape. Dark, mysterious. Let's look at a 7th shape. I tend to use them after a major chord, so it would sound something like this. Then you would switch to the augmented chord. And then, you know, wherever we go next is where we go. Something like that would be nice. Maybe to a D chord. Okay, and this is the diminished chord voicing using an E shape. Very dark, very mysterious. And lastly, let's look at a minor 7 flat 5. So we usually use these as passing chords to something else. So the shape looks like this, really unusual shape. Again, quite jazzy, quite, you know, thoughtful. They're best used, I think, as passing chords. So if you go in between A major, or whatever chord you're playing, to its relative minor, like F sharp minor. So if you go in between 2 chords like that, then it's really nice to touch on the minor 7 flat 5 on the way. Touch on it. And on the way back. It works in either direction. Okay, I hope you enjoyed just seeing those chord voicings there. You'll find a PDF that summarizes all of those chord shapes on the page, so you can download that, print it off, keep it, you know, in your practice space, or, you know, with your guitar, play around with those chord shapes. You know, some of them are very, very common. Yeah, the majors, the minors, we use them all the time. Some of them are a little bit less common. The sevens, the minor sevens, the major sevens, a bit less common, but still they crop up all the time in popular music. And then there's three in there that were quite niche and aren't used that often in popular music. The augmented, the diminished, and the minor 7 flat 5. But it's still really cool to explore those more advanced shapes and unusual sounds.